All right, so today we're just going to kind of cover, I guess, really in a nutshell, what we thought would probably be beneficial to everybody, because I know there's a ton of different majors in this class, but it's basically the 6 core principles of creating a brand. So first we want to kind of start off with really kind of who we are a little bit. I'm going to let Sean, he's the CEO or founder of our company. I'm going to let him go into a little bit of these details of what we do and who we are.
Well, hey, good morning, everybody, and thank you guys for joining us. And I'm pretty excited, man. I've got to tell you, I'm a little bit nervous because to think that I'd be teaching a class is pretty cool. But MarketingBox, our background, we've been in business for 17 years, and we've been on this mission, this journey to over 17 years to try to get to a product. We have a real passion for small and medium businesses, local businesses, champion the small guy. And everything we've done, we've taken a real unusual path to get to where we are. But later on this year, we're going to launch what we've been working on for 16, 17 years. And we're going to, finally bring this product down to the small and medium business market. What do we do? Right now, what we do is we work with some of the biggest companies, agencies, direct marketers in the United States, because they come to us because of our knowledge and understanding. We are considered one of the experts in this field. We won numerous industry awards. We were just celebrated for winning the Innovation Award with the U.S. Postal Service at their national forum. And we just have this appetite to understand how the marketing world impacts a business and teach businesses and agencies how to take a step back from the business and how to think properly, because at the end of the day, the people that know how to think the best, know how to plan the best, ultimately have the best strategies, and the outcome is they're successful more than the other people, right? And so our mission, when you look at, like, our big mission is we want MarketingBox to, it's a community first, right? So we don't look at people as our customers. We look at that these are people that have decided to work with us, and that we want to build a big community around them, because if we're going to be out there championing all of the small guys and giving people, I think that or most Americans have something inside of them that one day they would love to wake up and be their own guy, right? It's the American dream. You think of an idea, you put those ideas in place. Well, when you look at the small and medium business market, the number one reason they fail is lack of capital. The number two reason they fail is a lack of understanding of marketing and advertising. So if we can bring these skills and techniques and strategies in an automated way down to that market, then we're going to give them the same weapons that the big companies that we use have every day. Now it's going to put them on a level playing field. And now hopefully at the end of this, there's more people because of our product that become successful in their business, successful in life. And that's really why we're here. We look at everything from how can we serve our customers? And really, when you think about it from a life standpoint, you're a young group of people. Being a servant and always understanding that there's got to be value everywhere is really the right way to look at things. So we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, first of all, and that we're setting a good message and we're building a community that can lean on each other, and that's the ultimate goal. And the byproduct of that is we've built quite a successful business.
Yeah, and so why are we here? I mean, that's kind of defines a little bit of what we're doing. I mean, really, we want to kind of give back to the community. But, Shannon, as our lead social media person, will tell you this is great content, too. So that's, a lot of what we want to do. So we, again, appreciate anybody that follows us and really gives us feedback when we start talking in our social medias and when we actually post this on our YouTube channel and in our Spotify, that, if you go through, have a listen to it. And if you're here and you have comments and you want to do it, just please, we encourage you to kind of to jump in.
Yeah, Mike, just to touch on that, starting a community, we looked at all of these aspects, right? There's existing business, but then you guys are the future businesses, and we want to plug into the young people, because if we can instill, I'm 56, I've been doing this for 25 plus years. If we can instill and use some of the things that we learned that will allow you to not make those same mistakes and tell you, hey, this is where the process works, then we're creating the next group of entrepreneurs, and so that's why we wanted to come in and really share with real life experiences and things that we've done and seen in practice that that are going to give you an advantage on you and your peers and allow you to the person that knows the most in a lot of cases is the one that wins. And so if you can look at this, hey, I'm going to get armed with some knowledge. How do I put this knowledge into play to improve my personal brand or improve, whatever aspect of your life you want to?
Yeah. So, so getting started with the 6 core principles, let's kind of look at what branding is, because branding is freaking everywhere. Most people think of a brand as like maybe a logo or some certain colors that they use, or maybe even it's a style. But, branding is from everywhere to you look at, like some of the examples we have on here. It's how you present yourself on TikTok. It's, what you wear in the morning. It's what you do. Like if you look at that jersey, that LSU jersey from 2016, that was really ugly, but it had a specific brand in mind. They pulled in some authentic colors from an old time, but it was all put together by, you see the swoosh. Nike put that all together. LSU didn't have to pay a dime for that stuff because they knew it was a branding play for Nike. And again, it goes into even further into not just visual, but it's actually what you hear. Yep. So I can probably say 2 words to you right now, and you'll know exactly what brand it is without even, and it's not in their marketing at all. But if I said my pleasure, you would automatically think of Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Because it's something that they say every time you tell them thank you. It's something that's stagnated into their brand. That's what they do. It's what they're taught. And it, and you there's reasons behind it, but really just kind of more just in the global idea of what branding is. It goes through all personas of everything. And it's everywhere you look, from, the products, when you go to the bar, everywhere you have all of those logos, everything in there. It's one of those things. And I think somebody had told me that worked for Mars. They said, a lot of times when they open up and they really talk about branding, they say, hey, have you ever had an M&M? And he said 100% of the time, the answer is yes, with a smile, because it's always received well. Like, everybody loves M&M. So that's part of that brand. And that's something that they've instilled through several years of just different marketing that they beat into you. But that is definitely branding. All right, so again, when we start talking about the concept of branding, we're going to talk today a little bit about how to maximize your personal brand, your product, your service, right? These core principles work really kind of in every aspect of life. So we're not saying so these guys right now, if you're in this class and you're not a marketing major, but you are somebody that's, again, if you want to get a job, you want to get a girlfriend or boyfriend, all of these principles really work if you kind of break it down and you think about the core elements. So what I want you to kind of do is, as this is, I guess, a class environment, we're gonna get you guys involved. Take out a piece of paper, and I want you to start writing down some things. All right. So write down on this first deal. I want you to write down job ideas that you want when you graduate. So what do you think you're going to do? Not just, obviously your first job won't be the exact job that you want. Mostly that doesn't happen. But just look in your mind. What do you want to do? Why are you going to school? When you graduate, what do you want to be? So write those all down. And then after you write that down, I want you to write down 5 things you love to do, stuff that you're passionate about. And look, be very serious about what this is, because this is actually part of your personal brand. Your passion should be defined exactly into what you want to do, whether it's, going to the bar and getting smashed every night. Put it down if that's what you want to do, because you're going to need to look at that and really evaluate if that's the brand that you want to do. If that's the person you want to be, hey, it's a free country. And then lastly, what I want you to write down is I want you to write down your goals. So in life, with anything, with marketing, your life, you really need to kind of set down a few goals of what you want to do. And again, I'm going to show you how all of this ties into creating your personal brand, or again, this works for everything, for products, services. This is some of the routines that we do. These 6 core principles, we go with our clients on a daily basis, and we talk to them about them. But just write down these goals, and then we'll kind of go through them. On this first set, so when you wrote up, what you want to do, what do you want to be when you grow up? So if on that you wrote, I want to be an influencer, or I want to be a content writer, or I want to be in sales, it's really important that you get kind of specific about what you want. And that the best part, or the best job you could ever have, is if you take those things that you listed as far as what you want to do, and you match them up with those things that you love to do. So those 2 elements should be related, because the beauty of it is, if you say, I want to be an influencer is very broad.
Influencer of what, right?
Yeah. So
like, what are you passionate about?
Make sure you're passionate about everything you do, because essentially if you love what you do, you never have to work a day in your life.
That's right.
So I think there's a book about that, right, Sean? The 4-day work week.
Yep. Yeah. By Tim Ferriss. Yeah. The 4-hour work week.
That's it.
And basically the premise is that if you're not really just working 4 hours, but if you figure out what you love to do and what you enjoy doing, and you figure out a way to make money with it, you don't ever have to work a day in your life. And so the book's about that. And it really is true. And sometimes it maybe is not just that simple, but you have to you got to go to a certain direction and then adjust, because you have to be able to make money with it. Just because you love to do it, you got to pair that up. And I saw someone, you look at what's popular, look at what you can make money, and look at what you love to do, and there's an intersection in between all three of those, and that's where you want to try to land.
So think about those kind of things as far as what you're doing. Now, obviously, if you're the guy that gets smashed drunk and lands on the floor every night and you write that down, is that what you're passionate about? I'm not really sure the career success, but it is a free country, and that's the beauty of being so young right now, is that you can try things out. There might be something really good beyond it. I don't know how long you can do that, if you can do that in your 60s or not, but that's not me to judge. All right, and now on that last part that we wrote down like goals. Now a lot of you might run down, to be a millionaire. So let's scratch that, because we want to be as specific as we can. So if it's to get $1 million or to be a billionaire, let's write down specifically like what you would buy with that money. The more granular you can get with your goals, when you write them down, you can take pictures of them, you can put them up and put them on the mirror in your morning when you're brushing your teeth, and you kind of look at that. You want to remind yourself every day. So even if you can smell the car that you want to buy when you make that, when you make it. But also it's good because when you accomplish that goal, it's a huge attaboy to yourself, because you're on it. You're on the right path. So it's really good to create those specific goals, try to make them somewhat realistic. It's even good if you kind of segment it out, in 5 years I want to be this, in 10 years I want to be this, and kind of push for them to make sure you're doing it. And that's, part of how we are when we're getting started. Now, when you take those goals and you write those things down, keep that to yourself, have that as your personal deal, and kind of go out. But if you want to, especially if you have a good network, share those goals with your friends. Make them hold you accountable.
What about the experience? So what we just did as a company this is so important. It's such an important part of life that we figured out how to integrate this into our company. And so we have outside of our podcast studio, we have a dream board, and in each person on the team, we sat down and they put a lot of thought into this, and we created this image board of all of their goals, right? Because now, the team, we're focusing on we're people before we're employees or employer. And so we just this is such an important thing of people being successful, writing down their goals, thinking about their goals, and putting them in vision boards or visuals or reminders where you're focused on those things. And because sometimes it's easy to get off track, man. All of us do. I still do it at my age, but then those goals kind of, when you get off, it's like you turn the navigation off, and you can turn it back on. When you get back to those goals, it gets you back on track. And that's going to happen all throughout your life, where you deviate, you come back. You guys are young, you're changing your mind probably a lot. But if you have these core principles of who you want to be and where you want to go, then you're always you have a place where that it can give you instruction on how to get back on track to go after your goals. Goals are very important, writing them down and being as specific as possible, and then visualizing them, because you're looking at those things every day. It's reminding you subconsciously of why you're going and doing the things that you're doing that maybe other people aren't doing.
Yeah, it's so true, and that's kind of the way the culture is at this company and what we're trying to do. But now to get into, so you have all these things written down, so make sure you kind of reference this as we go through these 6 core principles, because it's going to be important that you start putting it in your head how you're going to do these couple of things. So when we're talking about creating a brand, again, what I had mentioned before, this works with products, it works with services, it works with your personal brand. It works everywhere you want it to work. It's pretty crucial to it, because essentially you are your brand. If you look around when you walk around campus, or where you go, how you talk to people, what you're wearing. Like if you're wearing sweatpants and very, very sloppy, then your brand is, I'm a sloppy dude. But, if you get prettied up every time you want to go, like it's all about who you want to attract. It's about who you are as a person. So if you're looking in the mirror right now and you're saying, well, you know what, this isn't the type of person I want to attract, maybe it's time to make your brand, to kind of refine your brand a little bit. But again, it's really important that you stay true to your principles. Don't try to be somebody else's brand. Be you, be who you are. So, and that's really what we're going to talk about right now. Like principle number 1, define your unique selling proposition. Now, when we talk about this, a lot of times when we talk with the clients, we talk about, all right, so the number one thing is, when you have a product or service, you want to be able to solve problems for your clients. Because if your product or service solves a problem, if it has a solution, then people are going to buy it. Now, that's all about that value that comes into, like, what am I offering? Like when I post, if I want to be an influencer, am I offering entertainment? Am I offering
classes?
Yeah,
classes. Yeah, yep.
And then again, how do you make this value different from somebody else? Because if everybody's offering the same thing, then it kind of gets washed away. Because again, marketing's everywhere. So if you want to make a difference, if you want to make an impact and be different, see how your value proposition can be different from anybody else without straying from being true to who you are.
Yeah. So let's just, I'm going to put myself in your shoes. You're a student, you have a unique perspective about something that you're very well read, you really know about it, and you think your perspective is maybe the right perspective, right? This is a great opportunity now for you to kind of step out there, because you're gonna really lean into the things that you're passionate about, right? You're going to become an expert. You're going to become those things, because ultimately the first thing you have to do is build a community. And so you're unique. If you don't have a product to sell or you don't have a service to offer, your unique proposition is going to be the insight that you have as a person, right? The perspective that you have on this topic that is a very popular kind of topic. And so, that becomes important. It's all about you. They're buying you basically. So you have to clearly, define what these things are, what these attributes are, and then you have to go execute them.
And I think he said it perfectly. They're buying you. So if you want to be an influencer or a content creator, find ways that it's you coming across your voice, your brand, your message, and all of your content. And yes, you do want to pay attention to what's trending and, kind of what's new in the media, because I do think you have to absorb things to know what you can do and how, what's trending right now. But it's never going to stick if it's not original to you. I know a lot of people grow like huge TikTok followings by using trending audios and, the dance trends or whatnot, and that works. But a lasting personal brand, you have to be providing value to your audience. What's something that you're extremely passionate about that's going to bring value and that's going to make people follow you and continue following you through your stages of life. Because as you get older, you do start to evolve. Like me, my whole brand was that I was an LSU cheerleader. Well, I'm not a cheerleader anymore. So if I were, if I was being an influencer, I would have to find, a way to talk about other things that I'm passionate about, because I'm no longer a cheerleader. So yeah, I think it's definitely finding out what's you, because that's what's going to stick.
Yeah. And they say on the internet, people come in there to get entertained first and get educated second. So if you can figure out how to entertain them and weave your educational message in, those are the people that explode.
Yeah, and then Shannon mentioned too just now, as far as who she's reaching to and her audience and how her audience has changed. But that's basically the second principle, is defining that audience. Yeah. So when you have that unique selling proposition, that problem that you're solving, well, you got to figure out who you're solving it for. Like, who has this problem that you can kind of deliver it to, and be able to speak to them. So when we say defining your audience, obviously you can kind of start with something generic. You kind of have a rough idea of what it is, but you really need to dig deep, because the more personal, the more direct you can get with all of your messaging, the more engagement you're going to get every day. And then when I say that too, I'm talking about, like, if you understand if they're married, if they own pets, or if they shop at Walmart versus shopping at Saks. It's just like understanding exactly what their daily routine is, where they like to congregate, the people that they talk to, the influencers that they have. The more you know, the more involvement you can get from them, and the more they'll like you as a brand itself. And that's why it's also good just to, as you're engaging with them, to ask them questions.
I was about to say, don't be afraid to ask the questions. Feedback is going to be your number one content driver. I mean, for me, social media is my job, and so coming up with ideas daily can be hard if you're not, like, this is seriously what I do sometimes. Like, go follow pages that are similar to what content you're posting and see what people are talking about, and see, you know, maybe you can answer a question that they have. You go do the research and you make a video about it, or repurpose maybe a topic you have talked about in the past or posted about in the past. Really find out where you can put your input and your value. And yeah, that's what, you know.
Where's the conversation happening about
Yes.
what you're interested in? Where are the people? Who's getting the most engagement? And then that's the great thing about the internet. If you're willing to go do the work and put in the time, you can go figure this stuff out pretty easy, man. And it's a real formula. Where's the conversation happening? What topics are getting the most engagement? You know, what people are growing faster? What other things are they saying? So you have a boilerplate to start from, and then you just got to make it your own. And that, all of that is, if you do those things, that's kind of when we define an audience for one of our clients. It's the most important process of the whole equation, because in marketing world, if you know you're talking to the right audience, then it rules out one big variable. The other variables is your message right, and is your offer right, right? And so now if you know that you're going fishing, hey, if you ever been fishing before, if you know there's fish there, you see it on the radar, now it's a matter of, you just got to find the right bait, the right tackle, the right strategy to catch those fish, right? And so the data is the most important thing, and it's what everything else is built on. So defining your audience is, you know, for you guys, it's jumping into and finding those influencers, like Shannon said. In our case, we're defining a set group of people that we're going to send outbound marketing to. But it's the foundation of everything. If you don't get that right, you could have a great message, all of these things you're saying, but you're just talking to the wrong people. So
Right.
it's very important to define that first and foremost.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, as an example, it would be like, how many people here would buy an Alabama T-shirt?
Probably not many.
I'm guessing zero, unless they wanted to burn it. But
Right.
you know, you're not the audience for that, clearly. So that's, you know, that's the importance of, because it could be the greatest shirt in the world, you know, but you're never going to buy it
And
because
this
it's
is
got
what I
that logo.
always say, like, you could have the greatest product in the world, but, you know, if you're not preaching to the right choir, right, it's not going to work. So I think definitely do your research, observe, analyze. That's something that I honestly probably do too much. I analyze what I'm posting to see what's sticking, what's working, how can I maybe shift this and create more conversation about it. So, you know, content ideas are constantly flowing, and there's definitely ways that you maybe change your perspective a little bit. You know, if you're just posting trending things and posting so similar to someone else, you're not really standing out, right? So you do want to provide that value.
Yes. And talk about providing the value, it's where do you reach your audience? And, you know, probably it's really good to find, you know, obviously you want to be on multiple channels, but it's really good to start with the channel that you know is going to have the most engagement. Because I think, Sean, we were talking about this earlier, and Sean had mentioned that, you know, it allows you to kind of have the right feedback because you have the masses, you have the right engagement. Because if everybody is on, you know, Instagram and they're actually giving you that feedback, then it really allows you to refine that brand that you're looking at, your messaging, you know, the things that you want to say. It allows you to kind of define those a little bit as you kind of sprinkle in all of the other medias.
Yeah, and listen, I'll tell you this, when we take on an agency client, the trial and error never goes away. You know, when we come out of the gate with a client, we're testing 4 and 5, 6, 10 different strategies, 10 different ads, you know, so the trial, we're looking for failure. Failure is a sign that we're on the right path. Failure is not failure. Failure means we can scratch this one off the list, and that's one less we have to deal with. And so all of this is about perspective. And when you start to lean into failure, then it doesn't matter. You just let it rip. There's no expectation. Hey, I'm putting it out there. And the internet, in the old days, when you didn't have this immediate feedback loop, you had to wait a while to figure out if your messaging was right. Now you can throw stuff out there. The feedback, if you get no feedback, you didn't hit the right button. Go to the next thing. If you don't stop, then you're going to figure it out. And then there's going to be that aha moment. And then that'll catapult you to the next phase. So the trial and error is a necessary part, and you should welcome the failure, because the more you cross off, now you have that many less ways, and at some point you're going to get to the number, and you've put the work in, and it's going to pay off big time.
Yep. Sean's jumping ahead a little bit too, but now we're going to talk about your voice. Because the principle number 4, we get the feedback. I think that's principle 5. But principle 4 is going to be defining your voice. And this is really kind of how you talk to people, the words you use every day. I know I'm a big follower of Gary Vee. He cusses constantly. And he said, you know what, I don't really care. That's who I am. He just throws the words out, and he said, if you don't like it, oh well, I'll get canceled. He's not really that worried about it. But it's defining your voice, just like Chick-fil-A says, my pleasure. Their voice, that my pleasure, is almost like consistent with their entire brand, though. It's like almost like a proper type thing. You wouldn't go into, if somebody said my pleasure when you got your Popeyes, you would be like, what? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all. So it's defining who that is. Some of these things I think really kind of can relate to how you talk, how you position yourself, how you hold yourself, how everything that you do during the day as far as a personal brand. Now, as a service and all that kind of stuff, it's the culture of that company. And I know Sean talked about our culture and how we're really kind of people pleasers as far as like internally. We want to make sure everybody's living their dreams and not just the dream of the company. So it's really good that, you kind of think through that, use humility and kindness in everything that you do, because it's going to go a long way, and being true to who you are.
Being true to who you are. Don't let other people try to persuade you into creating your content in a way that's not really representing you, because then how are you going to make that last in the long run, right? So, posting on TikTok as a business is a little bit different than as yourself, like your personal account. But, just present your content in a way that's going to be able to last. It's the best way I can put it.
They call it evergreen. And usually that's well thought out, clearly defined. That's the stuff that's evergreen. It's good today, tomorrow, and the next day. It's like, so that's what being authentic and defining your voice.
This is the best way I put it. When someone comes across your Instagram, your TikTok, your Twitter, like I always think as I'm posting something, their first impression of our company or myself, what is it going to be? Mm-hmm. How are they going to be perceiving this? Because you want that to come across in every post. You want it to be consistent. Yes, try and, change up your content slightly between the platforms, because what you post on Instagram and TikTok is probably very different. So, but still try to have that voice that, they'll be able to tell who you are.
Yeah. It's also easier to be consistent that way, because,
Yes.
If you're faking it till you make it, sometimes it's hard to remember the lie that you had before. So it's like, or even sometimes like if you're buying a really fancy car as an example, like we'll use this as not just a personal brand for making money, but trying to find a mate. So as a guy, a lot of times you see guys that will try to overextend themselves to have fancy stuff, like have the nice car, have the Rolex, have the things that really they can't afford, because they're trying to attract the prettiest girls, because they think that's what they're attracted to. But if you can't keep up with that, then really the whole attraction part is just based off of falseness, and it's going to eventually fall apart. So that's kind of what we're talking about. It's like being authentic and being true to who you are, because it's really easier to keep clients for the long haul than it is to try to acquire new clients.
Yeah, and you don't have to, when it's your voice, you never have to think about it. It's just who you are.
Yep. All right, so the feedback loop, which we talked a little bit about that too. Now, this is extremely important in everything you do. You have to have a way to compare your results. Like, you don't just go in and especially in today's media with all the different channels and all the different technology that we have, even using direct mail and radio, there's ways to, even with that older traditional stuff, there's ways to make sure you compare and have your results so that you know what's working. Otherwise, you're just pissing money away.
And so you can continue to improve.
Yes, and there's no doubt. Because, even like obviously the last 3 years have been super crazy as far as all the cultures, the industries, everything has changed dramatically. So making sure the value proposition that you're offering is the same and that your customer is the same, because they're not. So you're going to have to talk to them a little bit different, but making sure that, what worked yesterday might not work today. and vice versa. What worked, it didn't work 7 days ago might actually start working now. So it's good to really kind of almost like when you're starting spending money to kind of use a testing at least 10 to 25% of your budget on new ideas, new concepts, new channels, just to kind of make sure that you're fine tuning and sharpening that knife constantly to have the best marketing options, create the best opportunities for you to be successful.
Yeah, listen, so we do that now we have clients that spend, millions of dollars a year with us, and we tell them up front, it might not be 10 to 25, it might be 5 to 10%, but there's always a set amount because you have a theory, for you guys, you're not collecting spending ad money right now. So you'd get your feedback loop in a different way. If you're wondering if you're on the right track, the topics you're talking about, and the way to do that, you can survey people, and to find that out. But, when you start advertising, you have to always be testing. They call it a control. You know what the control does. The control works, but then you're always trying to better that control. So it never ends. And that's really the way it is in any of this branding, marketing. You should be testing new theories, new things to add to your repertoire. And because, you don't want to get stagnant. You want to, the world's changing. You got to change with it. So it keeps your eyes on the prize.
Yep. And then lastly, what do you do with that feedback? You refine, you maximize, you try to, don't be afraid to change it up a little bit. Obviously, again, staying true to who you are. Keep your eye on that prize, exactly what you were looking at, those goals. That's why you want to look at that every day, because you want to make sure that you're still the same person you were before you started and where you want to go. Like you have a mission that you want to try to accomplish, and we're going to kind of keep working on that. And I know even though you like kind of research and you kind of look at things and things are supposed to be working because that's what the market trends say, if they're not working, don't be afraid. And Shannon does a great job with that with our social media.
Yeah, so just so you know, we were one of those people. We haven't touched on this yet, and maybe it's for the later on, but the best time to get started is now. You look at, I'm kicking myself in the butt now because we didn't jump in this, branding and your all the branding and all that stuff. We were direct marketers. We didn't acquire our customers from the internet, so we didn't focus on that, but I wish I would have. And now Shannon's come in, and it's been remarkable because we really just got going 3 or 4 months ago, and our channels are doing great. It's been such a fun experience, and the thing that I wish, and almost everybody you talk to, when you ask them, what are your regrets? I wish I would have started earlier, right? So,
Yes.
Getting started, here it is. How do I get started? You just got to do it. You got to expect the unexpected and don't have, just go and do what you love, try to do it, analyze it, refine it, rinse and repeat. And if you are committed to that and you're passionate about what you're doing, I'm telling you, it might take a month, it might take 3 months, it might take 6 months. You're going to get there if you're following that track.
Yeah, guys, so I just graduated this past May, so I'm not, too much older than half of y'all, but I think one thing that I hear most successful people say all the time, every day, and they'll post it on Twitter, on social media, everyone wishes that they would have started sooner. And so don't be afraid of making mistakes at first. Don't be afraid of being judged if your posts flop or, people saying why is she posting like she's trying to be an influencer or things like that, because people that have 10 million followers now will say, I wish I would have started sooner. Even I wish I would have started sooner, because the amount of things I've learned just from posting content consistently for them within this past, 3 to 4 months is insane. So think about, if you start now, how much you'll learn.
Yeah, you really have nothing to lose right now. I mean, this is the best times of your life where you have a ton of flexibility. I mean, most of you guys are between 18 and 20, 22 maybe. But I mean, this is really your years where it's really good to fail. And you can't think of fail as a negative word. You have to think of, and in fact, if you're not failing, that means you're probably not trying hard enough.
Not growing.
You're not pushing the envelope enough. So look, that's what we kind of constantly, when we're testing things, we're hoping, well, we're not hoping, obviously, but we're expecting some of them to not perform as well, because that's how we know we've pushed it too far.
Yeah, so there's something in the marketing world or the business world called paralysis by analysis. And so, thank God we don't suffer from that sickness or disease, because we are the opposite motion. We would rather, think fast, test fast, and the market's going to tell us what to do. So that's the way it really does work in the real world. So, taking 3 months to think of something or taking 3 days, put the thought into it, get it out into the market. The market's going to tell you what you need to do next, right? So, don't get paralysis by analysis. You think you have an idea, just jump. go, do it. You think you're prepped, everything makes sense to you. You got to just go.
Yeah. And that's actually not, I mean, Just Do It is obviously another brand that we stole.
Yeah.
That's not our stuff. But so lastly, before we get into questions, if people have questions, we wanted to kind of open this up to kind of start boxing. So Sean, I'm gonna let you take this because this was one of your ideas as far as how to get college students involved that we just kind of love, that we think might be something really kind of fun for you guys and create a huge opportunity for you.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see whether this was a good idea or not by how many people decide that they want to raise their hand. But we're going to be launching a series called a masterclass, Building a Personal Brand. And so MarketingBox is going to be like a long form, kind of article like you'd see in a Rolling Stone or one of those kind of things. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the people that are riding the wave and at the top, they're at the top of the fame ladder from a culture standpoint. And we're going to go back and do the research and tell their story, and then identify the inflection points through their life that they started to institute this branding, and they started to institute, because it seems like they all are an overnight success, but when you look behind the scenes, there's a specific steps that these people executed, and they were very savvy, and you woke up one day and they were nobody, and the next day they were internet sensations. So in this, when we publish this article, anybody who works on it from a research standpoint, what we'd be asking you guys to do is to do some research all the way back into their childhood and unpack who these people are, where did they come from, what kind of upbringing did they had, what were the major points in their life that were changing points or turning points that got them to where they are now. And this will get millions of impressions, right? So we're going to publish this out to our network. And anybody who works on it, you're going to get featured and credited in the credits for the story that we write, right? So, this is real world kind of experience that's showing that you had the resourcefulness to go and just like a journalist would. We got to have all the, the proof that this was, the things we're saying and all this. So it's going to be a fun project because these two people that we're going to start with are kind of on the crazy side of the internet now. And I think it's great resume candy. I think it's great for your resume to have this real world experience, and you're going to be a published person that your work has been seen by millions and millions of people, which if it doesn't help you with your job, it's a pretty cool thing to go pick up a chick with, so, or a guy, so, and this gets back to the people, ultimately, the internet's such a great place to learn. And I'm a big believer in, I've taught myself a lot going through the internet. And so if you're going to be an interesting, you think about it, you're with your friends and you're working on one of these things and you're out, man, and it's like, man, you have some information and you've done something that's pretty dang cool. This will be cool. It's be published. I think it's a great opportunity. We're hoping that we get a bunch of you to opt in. And then if so, we'll get you guys additional information on who it is and what we expect, and we'll set up a call if you're interested.
Yeah. So if you're interested in this program at all, just go ahead. It's up on the thing screen. Just email boxing@marketingbox.com. And then we'll kind of respond to you with project scope and all that kind of stuff of what we're looking for and how to get started with it. Yeah. So right now, I guess we're going to open this up to see if anybody has any questions, and really it could be anything. We're pretty an open book. We're very easy going. So I'm
ask what you want. If we don't want to answer it, we won't.
We'll tell you none your business. I guess we did a good job.
Yeah, guys, and
come on, there's got to be some questions.
If you don't have any questions, I do want to say, feel free to reach out. I know every time I was in class and there was a guest speaker, I would never reach out, but I wish I would have, because networking and connecting with people can never hurt you. So if you have any questions about creating content or marketing or advertising, DM us. You can DM me personally. Promise I'll try to get back to you. So yeah, I just want to put that out there.
That's actually another thing I want to touch on too, as far as your age and what you're doing. You're in college right now, and it's again, a huge opportunity. Obviously, you're there to learn, but probably one of the best things that I've ever did in college was networking. And part of this is too, Jenny Peters was one of my marketing teachers over here, and she actually was the one that introduced me to my first job, which created another portfolio that I had as an internship, which got me my second job, which, it just was a steamroller since then. And it was all because I took the time to meet and talk to my teacher. These teachers I know Amanda is a great resource,
Yes.
and I think she really likes to talk to students. She kind of had mentioned that to us when we talked to her before this meeting, that it's one of those things that, and it's not just that. Look, when we're talking about your passions, when you go down and you look at those 5 things that you wrote down that you're passionate about, there's other people that share those passions. And as you get vocal about your passions, create that community with it, because those community, that network of people that you have, again, surrounding yourself with positive people that are going to influence you, but are also passionate about the same things you like, it'll change your life. I mean, the ultimate goal for everybody should be happy. It shouldn't be a financial thing. Money just comes with it. When you're doing what you love, just all of the resources that you need will just be provided to you. So I see some chats. Let's see.
I can't see this far away.
What are y'all's jobs? So I do a little bit. I'm the CEO of the company, but I wear a bunch of hats, man. I sell, I work on product and technology in the creative team. We have a fairly small team. We, for the amount of business we do, we have a fairly small team. So a lot of people in the building wear multiple hats. Shannon?
Oh, so I am sorry, y'all. I'm a loud person. I didn't mean to scream.
No, I just wanted to, so you're not talking over it.
So I'm the social media director. I'm the only social media person here. So everything you see, I've curated together. And, we film a lot of podcasts that I clip up and put out on the media, and it's longer form for YouTube and for the podcast on Spotify and all of that. I actually graduated in broadcast journalism, so that's how I know how to edit footage like that and stuff. But it's pretty easy to learn. It just practice. The more you practice, the more you learn. Because I've already improved so much with editing video, way more. Like, I am so much better at it now than I was in college. So, yeah, that's what I do every day.
I'm the chief marketing officer, but I kind of wear a lot of hats here. Like Sean and I have actually been together since the start of this business. We've been kind of partners through it all. We have, we've shifted through. Our office was in Katrina that got destroyed. Initially, when we were first started working together, we've been through a lot of different trials and tribulations. But I try to handle all the content that kind of gets created. I work with any kind of the new businesses that come in. I kind of help strategize and put together stuff. I work with all the developers when we're creating the UI for our software. So there's just there's a lot of different things that we kind of have our hands in. So it's but yeah, the design elements, everything that's kind of anything marketing, branding wise, I'm kind of have my hands in.
Wait, can we scroll up? I saw a question one of y'all can answer. Someone said, how do you conduct surveys, I think?
Yeah, that was
I can't read this far away. Okay.
Surveys. How do you go about
Wait, hang on.
conducting?
She's reading it to us.
Again, this is all about your passions, and I think one of the things, like I follow Rogan a lot, and I found a lot of things that he does. Again, he researches every guest that he has. So if you're trying to go to a network, or if you're trying to talk to someone specific, and this is really even good if you're trying to get a job, if you find something more.
What was the question?
How do you talk to, like, how do you network with the kind of adults, like if there's not a lot in common?
Okay.
So, and I think what Rogan does is a lot of times he'll ask a lot of questions, like he does the research, he kind of understands, he kind of sees possible nuances that they would have in common. And then he'll keep asking questions until
he finds that common thread.
Yeah, until something's kind of relevant that they both can get excited about and they talk to, and it makes it a lot more interesting. And that's kind of, it's a little bit hard to navigate, but, like, Shannon sits here and shoots the shit with us all the time, and there is a huge age gap in it. I mean, we are from totally different worlds, and she doesn't seem to have a problem with it. So I don't know, how do you do it?
So I think it's positioning yourself. Hang on, I'm gonna take this out. It's hard to hear myself talk. I think it's positioning yourself to be in those kind of situations, and truly being yourself and being excited, and you want to seem like you're engaged in the conversation with them. I think, first impressions mean a lot, especially to older adults. So I think it's being as friendly as possible, enthusiastic about the things that you're talking about. And I don't know what type of people you're trying to network with, but it's never too early to get a LinkedIn. And what I did, which I'm so glad my professors pushed on us, is creating your own digital portfolio, whatever classwork you have. Like for me, it was packages from broadcast. I made my own little Wix website, and I put I was constantly updating my resume. And I think it's just finding something to ask about. Like, you want to seem interested in talking to them. Like, I remember one time I went to a baseball game when LSU played Arkansas, and I was sitting in the suite, and I didn't know a single person there. And, it's kind of intimidating and awkward when you have a bunch of adults in there that are well established, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do yet. And so, honestly, being honest about it, telling them the things that you're interested in and what you want to learn more about, and see what they have to say, see what advice they have to offer you. And that's kind of how I started all of my networking conversations.
See, think about it. Yeah. So you're going in and saying, like as a door opener.
Right.
Listen, I've followed you, or I've watched you, or whatever, and I really respect your opinion. I'm young, and so you have this, like, in martial arts, you got to use the opponent's momentum against him, right? So you have this kind of when you're young, an adult, that if you present it the right way, it's like, I would really value your opinion because I see that you're doing this, and this. Would you mind? And that's the way it kind of can start off, and that's like a good icebreaker. And who's going to say no to that too? So you're going to get a high rate of response too, even if it's on LinkedIn or anywhere. Hey, I'd love to connect with you. I read your content, and I really see a lot of value. I'm a student. I'm thinking about going into this field. I think every business, every entrepreneur wants to. It's a great story for him. He gets to help somebody that day. So you gave him a blessing, because if I got a message like that, I'd be on the phone right away, man, saying, dude, I get an opportunity to pour into a young person.
And following up with the people you network with. I cannot preach that enough, because it really does go a long way, and you never know, that could be your future boss one day. So maybe ask them for their email, or ask them, hey, can I give you a call next week? What's your schedule like? Just to talk to them. It doesn't have to be extremely formal, like you want to be polite, but I think just having that conversation and following up with them goes such a long way. You don't know who they could connect you with.
Yeah, that was a great question.
Yeah, really good question.
Really good question.